and again, we find ourselves disillusioned as different politicians recycle the same old disappointments in new packages, some more destructive than others. Could it be that we have put too much faith in politicians? Before we begin, welcome to Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. I'm Katlego and would appreciate it if you subscribed to our YouTube channel, liked and shared this video with other citizens.
Apartheid in South Africa crumbled after Nelson Mandela walked to freedom. But black people suffered decades of government-backed injustice before it did. Apartheid really began in 1948, but separating black Africans from the white minority had long been a policy aim. Laws made white people officially superior, and the large black majority faced discrimination in every aspect of their lives. Living, doing business or owning land in white areas was banned. There were separate public facilities, transport and schools.
Before 1994, millions of people rightfully condemned the unjust and discriminatory acts conducted by the apartheid government. I know that the ANC wants to make it seem like they single-handedly squashed apartheid's head, but the fact is, various local and international organizations rallied to bring an end to the horrible apartheid era.
On the 17th of March 1992, a referendum in South Africa resulted in white South Africans voting to end apartheid. In his address at the opening of Parliament the following February, de Klerk announced his intention to lift the ban on political parties, such as the African National Congress, and to release Nelson Mandela. This was followed by a series of negotiations between the government and the ANC that gradually lifted the laws of apartheid. In the face of hostility from the white Conservative Party, who began to defeat the National Party in by-elections, de Klerk called for a whites-only referendum to determine whether to continue his negotiations.
White South Africans are flocking to the polls today in one of the country's most historic referendums, a referendum which will decide the future of South Africa.
Johannesburg suburb of Greenside, a long queue of voters waited for polling booths to open at 7 o'clock this morning.
Polling was brisk in East London from the time the booths opened this morning. There were long queues at the City Hall, and by 10 o'clock more than 1,000 people had cast their votes. There were very few placards supporting the no vote.
There were still long queues at Department of Home Affairs offices in Johannesburg this morning, where people were still trying to get temporary identity documents to enable them to vote.
By noon today, 2,700 voters had passed through the polling station here at the Civic Centre. And this is a pattern that was in fact repeated throughout the morning at the other polling stations in the constituency. Organisers here say that the voting rate here is considerably higher than at the last election, when in the first 2 hours only 70 people voted. And compared with that number, from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock this morning, no less than 260 people had actually cast their votes.
Is this something better than the usual general election turnout?
Oh yes, certainly. In comparison to the 1989 elections, this voting had been extremely brisk.
In the Pietermaritzburg region, voting has been very brisk, and people are saying much more so than in the last general election.
85% of the electorate turned out, of whom more than 2/3 voted in favour of de Klerk and the dismantling of apartheid.
In the 90s, the ANC appeared to be South Africa's liberator and saviour. A messiah who would not only put an end to apartheid, but would also bring about access to services and resources to every citizen, changing the lives of all South Africans for the better. Unfortunately for most South Africans, that has not become a reality.
People live like this on a daily basis, man, every single day. They get born in situations like this, you know? It's been over how many years of democracy, but we're still finding ourselves in situations like this. It's just not nice, man. It's not nice at all.
After spending decades on the road, they were added to the housing waiting list then, and they are still waiting.
I want a house to keep my children and my husband safe because I'm already old. A house is a dream for me. I've been longing for so long.
Clearly, the ANC disappointed many citizens, but they also did some good work that has benefited some citizens.
Edwin Sodi. A Bentley, a Ferrari and a Porsche belonging to Blackhead Consulting.
300 million rands worth of assets. Politically connected businessmen.
A familiar name around an unfinished state project.
One thing that causes us to clash with loyal ANC supporters is a point that the good work that the ANC has done was not a favor to the citizens. It was not done out of the goodness of the ANC's heart. No ma'am, no sir. It was their job as the government. So do not feel like they have done or gone the extra mile for you as a citizen. They have only done what was expected of them. Yes, be grateful, but understand that they are servants who simply did what they were supposed to do. Well, in some instances. Once you understand that they were supposed to provide all citizens with water, electricity, sanitation, education, roads, healthcare, and many other things, you will not ignore the unmistakable fact that the ANC has certainly fallen short.
Free State is one of South Africa's poorest provinces. Sylvester is unemployed and has always lived in so-called matchbox houses. These homes were built under apartheid and never renovated. Their roofs are covered in asbestos, a carcinogenic material which has long since been banned in construction in much of the world. The local government had promised to deal with the problem, but most people continue to live in toxic conditions.
If someone takes it's dangerous, yeah, it's dangerous because there is a chemical here which has been added on this, yes. Maybe something like TB, tuberculosis. There are things which are not visible from this roof into within this space.
Residents are worried about their health and angry at broken promises. Matthew has lived here for 50 years. He said that surveyors came to calculate the price of a roof replacement back in 2015, but never took further action. He later read that more than 10 million euros in funding had gone missing.
His company got a contract basically to assess the number of asbestos roofs in the Free State. This was basically a contract so that they could count how many houses had asbestos roofs, and they had then to report back to the Department of Housing in the province to say these are the houses that need to be eradicated of asbestos because it's, you know, a health concern. Yeah. Instead, what happened is that a series of events, including HODs in the provincial government, who are now, of course, implicated in the matter and are before the court. They appeared in court along with Mr. Sodi and were granted bail. They then colluded, according to evidence that is put before the court, to mark up these particular instances. And what happened is that a project that could have cost upward of about 80 million rand then ballooned to over 500 million rand, and then later on way over R1 billion, and these payments were then circulating amongst these individuals. We saw the proceeds, the alleged proceeds of the crime in terms of the luxury vehicles, as you alluded to, that were seized by the assets forfeiture unit at Mr. Sodi's luxurious apartment. And the thinking there is that all this money was paid, and this is one thing that Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo said, is that all this money was paid without any work having been done, Koli.
We are angry, but we don't know what can we do. They take net our money, houses. No, where is that money? But we live like this, so in this house. Give them jail. This is the only thing that I see.
In October, residents gathered outside the provincial ANC headquarters to denounce corruption.
For those who are old enough, is this what you were expecting from the ANC when you voted for them on the 27th of April 94? Did you expect ANC members to pocket money that was meant to remove dangerous asbestos from the roofs of poor black people? Did you expect the ANC to take money that was meant to support rural farmers and give that money to some foreign family called the Guptas? What you need to do now is put your love and loyalty towards the ANC aside and view them objectively. They are not what you voted for. They are not the Messiah you thought they were.
National Executive Committee meeting in the immediate aftermath of the announcement of the results attributed our loss of support to perceptions in society that we are soft on corruption, we are self-serving, and that the ANC is arrogant.
Indeed, they were and continue to be soft on corruption. Instead of putting the needs of the citizens at the center of what they do, they chose and continue to choose themselves and each other over the citizens.
In a News 24 article titled Mashatile Under Pressure, Hawks, a Public Protector and now SIU probe cases linked to Deputy President.
Quite a long time ago, 2005-06, there was some reporting done by the Mail and Guardian specifically on, some Gauteng government contracts and so on that were awarded to people quite close to Mr. Mashatile and his own involvement in that. And
former Mineral Resources Minister Msebenzi Zwane has officially been charged with corruption and fraud relating to the multi-million rand dairy farm scandal. 280 million rands of taxpayers' money was plundered through the project, which was meant to benefit black farmers in the province.
Health Minister Zweli Mkhize has been dominating headlines recently as allegations of corruption surface involving the awarding of a communications tender to the company Digital Vibes.
The Director of Public Prosecutions in Limpopo announced that they've taken a decision not to prosecute the President or anyone else in relation to the Phala Phala farm case.
So are you taking particular issue with the statement released by the Deputy Minister of Finance? You feeling that should have been an internal discussion?
Not only the Minister, everyone has been talking, starting from the issue of the appointment of the Minister of Finance to the issues of the people that were approached and others calling on people to speak about what has happened to them. So we might have different issues, and all those issues are not important. It is the ANC that is important, because if one starts throwing hanging dirty linen outside, the others are going to say, you too have done this and this and that. All of us there in the NEC have our smallanyana skeletons, and we don't want to take out all skeletons out, because there will be, or hell will break loose.
They are not what you voted for. They are not the savior you thought they were. It is time to acknowledge the facts, no matter how painful.
Rand have been paid to the ANC at the time of the elections, 2014.
Some of it, Chair, was payments made directly to the ruling party. Some of it would have been service providers. For instance, that in this case, I'm making an assumption that some of that payment went to service providers or companies that were printing T-shirts that were distributed to, to volunteers and so forth.
Yes.
The Human Settlements Department says the Northern Cape has a housing backlog of nearly 120,000 households.
The payment of 371,553 Rand to Paul Mashatile, what is that about?
That's a payment that was made directly to the ANC.
For what reason?
From time to time, Chair, we get requests to assist, with donations, and that happens. It could be, for instance, to pay maybe for a venue for the Lekgotla. It could be, to assist with payment for salaries, but that happens on a regular basis.
Residents say there is no development in the area. Manako Mukwena has lived in this small shack since 2005.
We're not living comfortably here. Our roofs leak. We want houses. We are not happy.
An established donor to the ruling party and a well-connected socialite.
The long wait for a house is now finally over. Some families have been waiting since 2013. They got by in temporary structures that were only supposed to be used for 6 months. The long wait has been blamed on a backlog in the Department of Human Settlements.
Pinky Kekana, who is she?
She's someone that I consider a sister, that I'm close with. She's currently in government as of last year, I think, with the new administration.
Yes, she's a deputy minister.
She's a deputy minister, yeah.
Challenges of a persistent housing backlog is what the poor and indigent have to face. 55-year-old Sister Rakhalakane, a mother of 8 with 6 grandchildren, is one of many who are still on the waiting list. Rakhalakane says an RDP house she has applied for in 1996 has yet to materialize. A lamentable situation as she continues scrambling for space with her family in this shack.
The man at the helm of a R1 billion business empire, seemingly built on taxpayer rands.
Some of my children sleep in the dining room, others in the kitchen, and I share my bedroom with my grandchildren.
The ANC could have done more, much, much more, had they kept corruption and incompetence at bay. Acknowledging this fact does not mean you are not grateful for their contribution to ending the horrible apartheid era. It just means you are citizens whose eyes and minds are open to the truth.
South Africa needs to open their eyes. Their eyes. They need to open because we are growing the economy, but they are dropping it because of politics.
Many people who are part of the ANC realized that the ANC was no longer what it started off as. A party that desired the best for all citizens, especially black citizens. Some started their own political parties with hopes and promises of doing for the people of South Africa what the ANC had failed to do. I don't know about you, but I think as people we have put too much hope and trust in these politicians, and they do not even honor or respect that. Instead of shifting our hope from one political party to another, how about we start putting our minds and resources together to see how we can improve our lives and the lives of our fellow citizens around us? If each of us could do that in our own big or small way, can you imagine how many lives we could impact positively? How much better we could make South Africa? Look at the initiatives started by these people.
We found Mzwandile and his siblings. At the time, he was a troubled teenager battling criminal charges. Mzwandile's mother died 6 years ago following a long illness. And he has a vague memory of his father, who also lost his life when Mzwandile was still a little boy. Apart from facing jail time for theft and vandalism, Mzwandile has the burden of looking after an entire household. He takes care of his 6 siblings and his ailing grandmother. He was on the verge of cracking until Khotso Mutswenyane and Tyron Mutloung came into his life. The two are part of Father a Nation, an organization that trains men to look after child-headed families in Bophelong Township. They visit the Piris regularly to ensure they don't walk their difficult path alone.
These children do not receive, those times when you sit down and you discuss your problems and you break them down and you get advice and you get guidance. We go through a number of lessons. We go through a lot of social challenges with them.
Father a Nation was started by Johannesburg resident Craig Wilkinson, who believes that broken families cause most of today's social problems.
The outcome of bringing men into households is to restore the father figure into the household. So what the man does is bring discipline, they bring strength, they bring boundaries, they bring an authority, but they also bring a nurturing and caring that a man can bring to the household.
Yes. First prize was for the government to prioritize the creation of facilities that empower citizens through skill development, enabling them to improve their lives and contribute to the economy. The government should be educating citizens about the importance of a solid family and fostering a positive social culture. The government should ensure access to quality education and healthcare, quality and affordable housing, and an environment conducive for job creation. But clearly, they have not done enough. Question is, do we complain about it and stop there? Or do we complain in attempts to hold them accountable, all while doing our bit? Others among us have decided that the solution is to vote for other political parties that seemed better than the ANC. South Africans disappointed by the ANC search for alternative political parties. But in search for better parties or politicians, let us know that no party or politician will ever serve the role of a savior. There's a common statement that says, no one is coming to save you. I want to say, no politician is coming to save you. The ANC will not liberate you. Politicians and parties will always disappoint us, some more than others, and for that reason, you and I as citizens must take an active role in strengthening the fabric of our society. Instead of waiting for the government to solve our challenges, we need to rise and seek solutions ourselves. By creating jobs, empowering others with skills, and fostering community initiatives, we can promote stability and progress for all. Together, we can be the change we wish to see in South Africa. Take the faith you had put in that party and politician and put it in yourself and your fellow citizens, and let's see what we can do for our beautiful nation. If we mend our relationships as citizens, if we educate each other as citizens, we will ultimately be better at choosing the better politicians. What are your thoughts? Is there or will there ever be a political party that truly cares for every citizen, that prioritizes all people over power, that genuinely champions our best interests? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, please. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Join our channel membership if you haven't, and make a donation to our account. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.